All right, we're on with vetiver once again. It's been a while since I've spoken about vetiver, but we're talking about vetiver today in the video. It's a list of vetiver fragrances that I have here that I can speak about, all launched from 2020 on to today or now. So it's 21 vetiver fragrances. And vetiver, if you're not a fan, let me know if you are a fan. Vetiver tends to lean masculine. It's earthy, woody, grassy note. And for me, those kind of notes do lean masculine. There's no rules, wear what you want, when you want, but find out about these 21 vetiver fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. We're talking about vetiver today. Let me know if you're a fan of this note. You know, I've mentioned over and over again throughout my videos that I've been a bit bored of vetiver. I almost said oud, but this is vetiver we're talking about. There's a few highlights here that I really enjoy, but sometimes I find them to be a bit boring and one-dimensional and not very exciting. But, you know, I've been a big fan of vetiver for a long time. In fact, on the previous channel, I had plenty of videos on vetiver, and here I have plenty of videos on vetiver. It's just not been very exciting for me. But I've got some here that I think are quite good, and I'll let you know which ones I really enjoy. But we're doing the list in order of years. So we're going to talk about 2024 first, and towards the end of the video, we're going to talk about 2020. And then we've got two more bonus options after the outro of vetiver fragrances that I discovered recently that were not released, you know, from 2020 to 2024. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the latest from the house of Guerlain. It's VETIVER PERFUMES, this one right here. Let me know if you're a fan of the original, and let me know if you've gotten your nose on the new Parfum edition. Sure, it has been amplified, it has been intensified, it's pretty loud, it's intense, but I wouldn't call this like it's extremely beast mode. But if you're a fan of the original and you're looking for something that has more strength, I would definitely check this one out because it does have some oomph. For me, between the three parfums that were recently launched in the men's collection of fragrances from Guerlain, Habit Rouge was the strongest, followed by vetiver. It's a great fragrance. It's vetiver, juniper, there's coriander, licorice, tonka, smoky notes. It's a great release. It's just, if you're in the mood for vetiver, this is something I would pull for. In fact, I have Tom Ford's Gray Vetiver Parfum in here. I actually prefer the Guerlain Vetiver Parfum over the Gray Vetiver Parfum. Anyway, starting off things with Guerlain's Vetiver Parfum. Moving on to the house of Parfum de Marly. It's PERSEUS, this one right here. Are you familiar with PERSEUS? This one is not as exciting as the previous release and the collection of men's fragrances from Parfum de Marly. But once again, I feel like this is kind of one of those very expensive dumb reach fragrances. It's not a lot of thought to put in about this fragrance. It's pleasant. It's a crowd pleaser. It's mostly about citruses and vetiver and woody notes and some aromatics thrown in. So you smell great. For me, it doesn't have a lot of strength and oomph. So that was a bit lacking compared to the last fragrance, Altair, which was super potent and intense. And it was a vanilla, which I really enjoy. Here, it's a fresh vetiver, lots of grapefruit, lots of vetiver with citrus notes and maybe some slight fruitiness and some musky notes. I think it's a great fragrance to wear when it's warm outside. This is the kind of fragrance you would wear because it does have some heft to it, but it's not a screamer, if that makes sense. So this is PERSEUS here, launched recently in 2024. Next, going to the house of Narciso Rodriguez, for him, Vetiver Musk. This one right here. This launched earlier this year, and I think it's a great release. And once again, even weaker than the PERSEUS, this needs hot weather. This needs heat, I think. But otherwise, it smells really great. Featuring notes of cypress, nutmeg, cardamom, musk, bourbon geranium, red seaweed, lavender, cedar, patchouli, and of course, vetiver. It's called Vetiver Musk. This is a very pleasant fragrance. It smells great, and I think this will be a great crowd pleaser. It would come off really great and pleasant off of somebody's skin. It's a musky take on vetiver, but very fresh and clean and crisp and spicy. So people were asking me how this performs. It doesn't perform really great when it's cold outside. Weather's been not so hot lately or warm at all. So we're slowly getting to some warmth. And I think I've got some summer trips planned. I'm going to take this with me to test it out because, again, this and also PERSEUS will be great in the warmth of summer. So this is Narciso Rodriguez, for him, Vetiver Musk. Then speaking about Tom Ford's Gray Vetiver Parfum, This one right here. We're moving on to the year 2023. You know, I think it's a solid release. It's been made screechy, a bit metallic and sharp. So there is that going for it in comparison to the original's freshness. This is pretty dense, pretty heavy fragrance. I prefer, as I said, the Guerlain compared to this. Both of them are parfums from, you know, kind of designer-ish brands. Of course, Tom Ford's a designer and Guerlain can't, you know, categorize that brand. But it's pleasant. Let me know if you're a fan of this one. I wasn't wowed by this particular fragrance. Maybe it's because it's vetiver, but the screechiness kind of turns me off a bit. There's a metallic touch, and I don't know if it's subconscious, but the color and the bottle kind of gives me an idea of the kind of silverish kind of metallic experience I'm going to have with the fragrance. But let me know if you're a fan of that one. And of course, we've got Lalique's ENCRE Indigo, this one right here. Now, this one turned out to be a pleasant surprise. I really enjoy it. It's a new launch from Lalique, sort of continuing with ENCRE Noir, but they're changing the noir to indigo. We're going into the blue direction, and they're still utilizing the vetiver here, but they're mixing it with black tea this time, giving you that kind of fresh tea coziness that I find pleasant in fragrances, and I think it works great against the vetiver. And Annick Menardo, who created this, did a great job. The previous series was done by Nathalie Lorson. I enjoy both of the creations of these perfumers, and this is definitely a great take on a great fragrance. And once this goes to the discounters, I think it's going to be pretty hyped. It's fairly new. It's like not even a year old, but it's a great take on tea and vetiver together with juniper, pink pepper, saffron, patchouli, bergamot, and ambergris. Really, really wonderful offering. I really do enjoy it. There's definitely a very soothing, relaxing vibe about ENCRE Indigo if you haven't tried it yet. But moving on to, still in the year 2023, we've got Frapin's ATTENDRE and ESPERER, this one right here. Now this one, along with a few other fragrances, was recently featured in a short I did of nutty vetiver fragrances. And this is one of the nuttiest and the most gourmand out of the three I featured in that shorts video. I really like the way this smells. It's almost reminding me a little bit of Fat Electrician from the House of Etalibre Orange, because that was also kind of a gourmand take on vetiver. But for me, this one even goes further into the gourmand direction, and I like that about this one. This one's actually exciting because there's some more things in there, some more substance about it, rather than just all about vetiver, where I say it does kind of get boring a little bit if it's just vetiver. So the fact that they have vetiver here with hazelnuts, lemons, cardamoms, and salted caramel, delicious. It's the salted caramel with the hazelnuts. You're giving it a little bit of a, nuttiness there, and then the addition of salted caramel. Really wonderful offering from Frapin. And it's a very, very underrated house, who's known for cognac, but they have a great collection of fragrances that nobody even talks about. So check out Frapin's ATTENDRE and ESPERER. That one launched last year. Then moving on to Zoologist Perfumes, it's Tiger. So Tiger is a vetiver bomb. It's a very dusty, woody, leafy, grassy forest that a tiger is walking right through. And the smell is kind of like wafting in the air as he's breaking down the woods, the leaves and the shrubs. And it's releasing kind of dust because it's not been, walked through for a while. That's the kind of experience I get with this one. So it's very dusty, dry, woody, earthy, with some warmth thrown in lightly and spices coming in and some freshness from some certain citrusy touches. But if you like that idea, the picture I painted here with a tiger moving through the forest where it hasn't been walked through, it's dusty, as I said, woody, earthy, leafy as well, and grassy. It's got a very earthy, woody smell. Definitely check this one out. There's some light floral touches that come in, but for me, this is an uber powdery experience. It's got carrot seeds, which creates a bit of an iris-like powderiness here. And of course, you've got lots of musky notes as well. It's once again, a great offering created by the same perfumer who created Bee, but these are night and day different fragrances. Bee is a honeyed gourmand for me with the floral notes. This is uber masculine with all the vetiver woody notes that are in here. So Zoologist Perfumes, Tiger, really wonderful offering. Next, going to the house of L'Orchestre Parfum. It's Vetiver Overdrive, this one right here. So if you thought that this fragrance from the house of Parfums de Marly is a bit too light, I think this Vetiver Overdrive from L'Orchestre Parfum should even further satisfy. For me, the idea of this fresh coziness from all the notes that are in here against the vetiver is such a really great offer, like a wearing experience. For me, there's a lot of bergamot in here to give you a bit of a juicy pulpiness and light creaminess as well against, you know, the earthiness and the grassiness and woodiness of the vetiver. There's some ambroxan in here, geranium, cedar, and musk as well for a wonderful offering. I personally, between the two, I find the idea is kind of similar, but I much prefer Vetiver Overdrive over the Perseus from Parfums of Marly because it smells really good. And if you haven't tried this one, do try it. I think you're going to love it. It's very cozy to wear, kind of citrusy, musky, take on a really beautiful, gorgeous vetiver. So Vetiver Overdrive from the house of L'Orchestre Parfum. If you haven't tried it, please do. I highly recommend that one. Next up, going to a house called LILANUR. This is Vetiver MOUSSON, this one right here. Are you familiar with this house? These are currently sold at Bergdorf's and Harrods exclusively. I don't know if any other stores are going to pick up this house, but maybe they will. It's a really great luxury house that I highly recommend you guys get your nose on the fragrances. The fragrances are all created by Firmenich perfumers, but this one is a really great take on this really intense and beefy, robust vetiver, along with Guaiac, Jasmine, and Ylang Ylang. So we've got two sides here, a feminine side with the Jasmine Sambac and the Ylang Ylang, a more masculine side with the vetiver and Guaiac. There's some slight smokiness in here, but you can really feel the robustness of the vetiver, the beefiness, the intensity of this vetiver in here. It wears very masculine, even though you've got the kind of the feminine floral touches to kind of balance it out. Because for me, vetiver and Guaiac wood are running the show here, and then the jasmine and the ylang ylangs floral touches, the white flowers, the yellow floral touches kind of comes in and tones down that kind of roughness of the vetiver and Guaiac wood. So LILANUR Vetiver MOUSSON, really wonderful offering. If you haven't checked that one, do try it. We are now in the year 2022. Next, going to the house of Angelos Creations Olfactives. This is Vetiveria Animalis, this one right here. So if you are a fan of the fragrance, very short-lived fragrance from Guerlain called Jedi, you must get your nose on this one. It is an animalic take on vetiver, and it is also on the vintage side. It smells vintage. If you're into vintage, you've got to check out this house, and definitely check this one out because it definitely has a very vintage touch for me. Reminds me of fragrances from the 90s and before, sort of, kind of a thing. But it has three types of vetiver: aldehydes, civet, narcissus, oak moss, Thai oud, castoreum, hyrax, orris root, ambergris, patchouli, carnation, cinnamon, and notes galore, on and on and on and on. For me, it wears super strong, but not beastly. Like, it doesn't overwhelm, like it doesn't like shock your system. Just really intense, and also classic vintage smelling with that overdose of vetiver, with those kind of vintagey kind of touches that are coming in to really create a wonderful offering. This one, actually, I wasn't a big fan of at first. It's grown on me. I personally really love vintage classic fragrances. And again, this, like I said, this one didn't wow me at first, but it's grown on me because I started testing it out, really appreciating it, and now I really think it's a wonderful offering. And sometimes fragrances do require time. It's not an instant love like this one. I had to think about it, figure it out, and I figured it out, and I'm enjoying it. So this is Vetiveria Animalis from the house of Angelos Creations Olfactives. Let me know if you're familiar with that house. But moving on to the house of Jacques Fat, it's Vetiver Gris. This one right here came out in 2022. Actually came out late 2022. I think it was officially launched earlier last year, but really kind of dropped in late 2022. And it's a great take on vetiver. Once again, this is one of the second nutty vetiver fragrances in that shorts video I did. If you haven't caught that, please go. It's only a minute long. But vetiver, hazelnuts, bitter orange, and galbanum. This is not leaning gourmand. The Jacques Fat Vetiver Gris is not leaning gourmand, whereas Frapin's Attendre and ESPERER is totally gourmand. Even the fact that they both have the hazelnut note, that nutty, and that one has that caramel note, so that's giving it that gourmand edge. Here, for me, the vetiver is a bit peppery. There's a peppery side about it, and I feel like, even though there's not mention of pepper, I believe maybe there might be pepper, but to me, I think what's causing that kind of pepperiness is the galbanum note, giving it a kind of a bitter pepperiness and taking it into a greener direction. But a really great offering, and I feel like they're capitalizing on their Eerie Gris fragrance, the Gray Iris fragrance. This is obviously Gray Vetiver. So this is Vetiver Gris from the Jacques catalog. Are you familiar with that house? Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. And let me know if you've tested out any of the fragrances so far. Moving on to the house of Parfums d'Empire, Vetiver Bourbon, this one right here. Boy, this is a bit on the rough side, I should say, but I quite like that roughness about it. I really enjoy this house. Very underrated house. Let me know if you're a fan of Parfums d'Empire. Check out Ombre Rousse and a few others that I highly recommend. Lalique, Musk Tonkin for something animalic. But here we've got Vetiver Bourbon, Angelica, Cloves, Iris, Ambrette seeds. On skin, it gets really butch, really slightly animalic, a bit sweaty as well, but powdery, dry, and a bit vegetal because it has Angelica. But there's also cloves here. So vegetal, green, warm, spicy, kind of balance it out. Really wonderful offering. If you haven't tried this, definitely try it. But again, as I'm saying, it leans masculine. It's definitely on the butch side and slightly animalic and sweaty, but a really joy to wear. So this is Vetiver Bourbon from the house of Parfums d'Empire. Let me know if you've tried that one. All right, up next, we've got a fragrance from the house of Sospiro. It's Basso, this one right here. Are you familiar with Basso? Let me know if you are. But to me, the more I've worn this one, the more it starts reminding me of Terre d'Hermès, but not identical. There's a hint about it in there, but boy, do I like this Terre d'Hermès feel or experience from Basso compared to the original Terre d'Hermès from Hermès. Something about this one here is creamy, but with that smell. I don't know, does that make sense? It's sandalwood, right? Sandalwood tends to get a creamy milkiness, and I got that here, but it smells like Terre d'Hermès a little bit, and I love that about it. Really, really do. This kind of cozy, relaxed, soothing sandalwood note with that hint of Terre d'Hermès. Super, super amazing fragrance. It's from the house of Sospiro, so it's really intense, super potent, created by Christian Provenzano. And this has definitely become a favorite of mine from this house. And if you haven't tried it and you enjoy that whole Terre d'Hermès DNA, definitely try Basso from the house of Sospiro. Moving on to the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. It's Vetiver Écarlate, this one right here. This one is tomato leaves with grapefruit and vetiver. See, I've been mentioning in the past in videos, grapefruit and vetiver work great together, but it's the first time I'm seeing it come up. Maybe there was one or two that previous fragrances. But here, it's definitely prominent. But for me, this is more about the tomato leaves. If you like the idea of this kind of green bitterness, almost aromatic, well, not almost, it's quite aromatic, but herbal, bitter, a bit like galbanum is what I was going to say. And you like that contrasted with grapefruit and vetiver, you're going to have to really check this one out because it's vegetal, it's green, herbal, aromatic. You've got the grassy, earthy woodiness from the vetiver, that juicy, pulpy zing from the grapefruit. Wonderful offering. It's very unique for a vetiver, and I like these kind of fragrances, so I enjoy them when they're a bit different and not just about the vetiver, if that makes sense. So this is Vetiver Écarlate from the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. Moving on to the house of Guerlain. Second Guerlain fragrance. This is Nerolia Vetiver, this one right here. And once again, this is not too... No, I think it is vetiver. It's a lot of vetiver, but it's nicely balanced out with a lot of neroli, basil, and fig. The fig's note is a fruity note with a bit of greenness in there. But man, they've done a great job. I think lately, the Aqua Allegoria collection from Guerlain has been launching some really good stuff, and this is definitely one of them. I like the combination of the notes. Didn't realize you can mix the fig with the vetiver, throwing the neroli and basil's aromatic touches together for really one great offering. It works great in the summertime. It's refreshing. It's a floral. It's grassy, woody, earthy, and a bit fruity. So Guerlain's Nerolia Vetiver. Check it out if you don't know that one. Next, going to the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. It's Encelade, this one right here. This one is a bit on the animalic side, I should warn you, but it's also kind of pulpy, fruity vegetal with the rhubarb. Lots of it with vetiver, Atlas cedar, tonka, and then there's also Australian sandalwood. So it adds that kind of smooth, creamy layer as well. But eventually, for me, it gets leathery. It dries down, becomes leathery on me. And that's when I start feeling the smoky leather, slight animalic touch about it as well. But I like the way that they've contrasted the rhubarb and vetiver. It really balances out the vetiver and throws in that kind of fruity, pulpy, vegetal vibe against the kind of grassy, earthy woodiness of the vetiver. So this is Encelade from the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. Next up, going to the house of Fragrance du Bois. Once again, Secret Trist. It's a vetiver-focused fragrance, but there's a lot more going on with it. Recently featured in the amber woody fragrances video if you haven't caught that. And again, there's ambery touches in here as well. There's also rosy touches and spicy touches. But for me, I experience frankincense and vetiver a lot with vanillic touches thrown in. And again, as I was mentioning in that video, it does kind of go into a little bit of a Middle Eastern direction. And I think it's the idea of the rose and saffron that comes in to give you that. But it's a great release, one of my favorite offerings from the House of Fragrance Du Bois. They've done a great job with it, and I really enjoy wearing it. There's a really kind of a smooth vibe about this one, even though there's these kind of rough notes that are in here to not make it that kind of a fragrance, make it a bit more big and beefy, but something about it really does give me this kind of relaxed feel. But smells really, really great. This is Secret Tryst from the House of Fragrance Du Bois. Next, going to the House of Paris Monte Carlo, and it's Vetiver Java, this one right here. This is 2021. If I didn't mention, we're in the year 2021 now. And this came out during the height of the pandemic. A lot of these fragrances before that I mentioned as well. This is Java Vetiver, Timur Pepper, Amber, Calabrian Bergamot, Grapefruit, Geranium, and Musk. This is your traditional, very beefy take on a masculine, fragrance with a focus on the Java Vetiver this time. Timur Pepper for a grapefruity touch. They've also got grapefruit in here and bergamot. So there's some freshness, but there's also aromatics in the amber and the dry down with the musk. It's a great offering. It's not one of my uber favorites, but I think if you're looking for a really nicely done masculine take on vetiver with spices, citruses, and musk and aromatics, definitely try the Vetiver Java. I'm drawing a blank with the name there for a minute. But moving on to the House of Molinar, this is Vetiver, and this one's a really great vetiver fragrance. Really, really wonderful. This purple bottle collection from Molinar, I think, is really, really a great collection. It's niche for really not so expensive prices, although they are 75 ml bottles compared to your traditional 100 ml, but still, these were sometimes selling online at the discounters for around $50, $60. And you're getting niche fragrances for really quality at the really great prices. This one focuses on the Haitian vetiver with amber, lavender, violet, blood orange, and grapefruit. And this combination is so working amazingly together. It's a pleasant to wear. It's inviting. It's calling me rather than, I'm tired of vetiver kind of a thing. This one really says, come wear me, come wear me. Because I like the combination. It has that amber in the dry down. It has the aromatic touches of the lavender here against the vetiver, violet, blood orange, grapefruit. A winner vetiver fragrance from the House of Molinar. Check it out if you don't know it. And then going to the year 2020, we've got two fragrances and then we're done with the list. This is Caron's Moi Comme Je Suis. Have you tried this one? This is the third and final nutty vetiver fragrance that was featured in that shorts video. This is vetiver with hazelnuts, ginger, and vanilla. So it has some zing, it has some spice, and of course the nuttiness against the vetiver is super amazing with that. It's so good. There's grapefruit in here as well, and the grapefruit comes in to freshen things up and then sweetened up by vanilla as well. Caron did a really great job with this one. This was actually probably one of the first fragrances by Jean-Jacques, their in-house perfumer right now. And definitely a really, really great offering. If you haven't tried this, definitely try it if you're looking for more like a mass market kind of a take on vetiver. The nuttiness does make it a bit more, inviting versus something that's rough, because vetivers can tend to get rough. So this is Caron's Moi Comme Je Suis. And then we're going to end the list with Mancera's Vetiver Sensuel, also from 2020. This was a surprise from Mancera. Mancera's been surprising me lately with Tonka Cola and Amore Cafe. And this came out 4 years ago, and it's a great job. This is a citrusy take on vetiver with a Mancera touch. So if you like citruses and vetiver from some other brands, make them really light, and it's not long-lasting. Here with Mancera, it is definitely a great performing fragrance. You've got woods here, mint, orchid, patchouli, white musk, oak moss, amber, and pepper, in addition to the vetiver and citruses. And you've got a nice cornucopia of citruses in this, like lime, lemons, bergamot, orange, together to make a really great, fresh, but dense, intense, woody, aromatic, spicy, citrusy, musky take on a really wonderful vetiver fragrance. If you haven't tried that, please do. It's Mancera's Vetiver Sensuel. That's the last vetiver fragrance for you guys. What do you think of this list? Let me know your thoughts. Again, I wanted to do something different, not focus on what's best out there, but cover what's been launched in 2020. I don't have every single fragrance in my collection, so I can't, talk about everything. This is what I have, 21 that was launched in 2020 up to now. And let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Put a comment down below so I can find out. If I'm missing something that was launched between those years, do let me know what they are so I can look into them. Lastly, let me know your favorite vetiver fragrance. Is it Dior's vetiver? It's discontinued now, sadly. Is it Etro's vetiver? Discontinued once again. Like I said, put a comment down below so I can find out. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. So I've got two bonus options for you guys, discovered between 2020 and 2024, but they were launched both in 2017. First of which is Nuit Nomade's Mr. Vetiver, this one right here. I like that name, Mr. Vetiver, because at one time I was Mr. Vetiver. And then Binet Papillon's #1 Alchemist Pepper, this one right here. Are you familiar with both of these houses? This house I speak quite a bit about, Nuit Nomade. But Binet Papillon also is a really great house that I will be speaking about. And if you're in Paris, go to their store in the Galerie Vivienne. The Nuit Nomade Mr. Vetiver is all about spices with vetiver. And there's also herbs and aromatic touches like basil, geranium. And it does have a citrusy base to freshen things up. It's once again grapefruit. Grapefruit does really great things to vetiver, and that's present here. And with the Binet Papillon Alchemist Pepper, #1 Alchemist Pepper, it's a slightly animalic take on vetiver. If you like that sort of thing, try it. It's powdery to the max as well, dry and dusty. It's sort of reminding me a little bit of the experience of Tiger, not the smell, the wearing experience, but this one has vetiver, violet, petitgrain, elemi, pepper, styrax, and labdanum. So it does get ambery, smoky, dry. It's a very dry fragrance. So this one, I would warn you to use caution because it could come off a bit animalic. It's not overly animalic because I can totally wear it. I can tolerate animalics, but some of you can't, obviously. But either way, two really great vetiver fragrances discovered between 2020 and 2024. Launched in 2017. Let me know if you tried them. Put a comment down below. Thank you. Bye-bye.